Yes, we can. So welcome to whoever is listening. It's a pleasure to be part of Risky Business 2023 event. My name is Jacob, and I represent Maersk Technology. I'm responsible for the GRC and insurance application portfolio.
Thanks,
Good.
Jacob.
And I'm here with Jacob. My name is Henriette Skotwin Gebro. I am heading up our enterprise risk management function. And today our intention was to give you an idea of how we do enterprise risk management at Maersk, and also tell you about the journey that we are on to bring technology into our process, and also the challenges we're facing in that connection. So if you will move to the next slides, and actually the one after. Yes. So first, we'll start with a little bit of facts about our company. Maersk was founded back in 1904 in Denmark. It was founded as a shipping company. And over the 20th century, we have been involved in many industrial activities, such as shipbuilding and also oil and gas activities. Today, Maersk is a logistics company. We have a fleet of more than 700 container vessels. We have investments and ownership in 65 ports and terminals across the world. And we also have warehouses, more than 1,000 warehouses also around the world. Our strategy is to provide what we call integrated logistics solutions. That means solutions for our customers from when the cargo leaves a factory until it arrives in the final shop going out to consumers. And then we also have all adjacent services to the logistics journey, and that can be customs clearance. It can also be cargo insurance. To support our strategy, we also have set some strong ESG targets. And 2 weeks ago, we actually welcomed the first methanol vessel in the world to Copenhagen. That was a little bit about our company, first of all. Then when it comes to risk management at Maersk, it is considered a very important activity to support our strategic objectives, both in the short to medium term, but also to ensure the longevity of the company in the longer term. So our board of directors, they have a strong involvement. They have the audit committee, which is receiving regular updates on the risks that we have in focus. The top risk that we identify within the ERM team, they are owned by members of the executive leadership team. And in the ERM team, we provide the quarterly updates to the Risk and Compliance Committee, which again consists of several members of the executive leadership team. We are a second line of defense function, and we are responsible for ensuring that our framework is well embedded in the organization, and also that we then can provide the assurance to the board and to the management that risks are identified and managed across the organization, with the aim to basically reach our business objectives and also manage the risk within the risk appetite set by the leadership team. If we then look at the process that we run on an annual basis, there's the process which is focusing on what we call the short to medium term risk, and then we have for the longer term risk, we have an emerging risk process. Today I'll focus on the first process. So the first process is run by what we call a bottom-up process, where we go and ask all the brands and functions within Maersk to report to us on their major risk within their function. And the way this has been done historically has been via email, it's in Excel files, and so on. We also then perform what we call a top-down process, where we interview a number of senior stakeholders across the company. And we do that really to supplement the bottom-up and get a helicopter view across the organization. These interviews we capture mainly in Word, Microsoft Word. So everything we have captured in different ways that we consolidate into one. We have consolidated into one Excel file. And then based on that master Excel file, we start creating various risk registers for the individual brands and functions. When we come to the third quarter of the year, then we run a selection process, and we do that then based on impact and likelihood of all the risks we have identified. So I think this year we have around 70 risks that we say are that large that we call them enterprise risk. And through the selection process, through discussions with the Risk and Compliance Committee and also the leadership team, we end up with the top 10. The top 10 are then anchored with the executive leadership team. And they are the ones in, you can say, in focus for next year. So the last part of the year, Q3 and Q4, then we agree the full risk articulation for the top 10 risk. So we find out what are the key risk indicators, what are the actions that are taken to mitigate the risk, existing actions, new actions taken, what are the controls in place to keep the risk at the current level, what are effect measures that we can come up with to measure if new actions are actually effectively mitigating the risk. All of this, again, is captured in the Excel file and also in PowerPoints. So, I mean, this is a rather cumbersome process because we're sending emails around and various documents that are being updated by various people within the organization. And that part is what we'll talk about, where the technology solution will help us now going forward. We also, I have one more, I think, here. And we also run then the monitoring process when we come into to the beginning of the year. Then we start the monitoring of the top risk and ideally also the risk below the top risk. And that's also where we need help by technology, because otherwise it becomes unmanageable to handle so many risks in a detailed way. So the monitoring process is ideally done by having access to status on mitigation actions and also the key risk indicators that we had determined upfront, and then have a meeting with the risk owners and risk responsibles, because then we get a better discussion. At the moment, and what it has been so far, it has been more a meeting, and then we get the metrics afterwards. If we then go to the next slide. In 2021, we decided to run a maturity assessment of our framework and process. This was a decision taken within the treasury function where we sit, but together with the CFO of Maersk. So really to see if we can get an external party to verify that what we're doing is actually best practice. Also to see if there are any gaps that would be useful to fill in. And the decision was, I think there was a beauty contest done where Deloitte came out as the provider that we chose. The scope was to look at 4 different categories within ERM, so the strategy, governance and culture, business and operating model, and finally monitoring and technology. So for today, our focus is on technology, and basically what Deloitte found was that on technology, we are on a scale from 1 to 5. We are probably more between 2 to 3. At the time they did the assessment, talks were on the way to have a technology solution, but nothing final had been started. And I think basically with the findings, that made us capable of doing a roadmap for the future for ERM. And one of the main you can say objectives was to have a technology solution. And then that's where then Jakob comes into the picture, and a little bit on how the path has been to get where we are today, where we actually have implemented SAP and we're starting working with it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Henriette. I hope we are being still audible Should there be any questions coming up, then my ask of our hosts here is to put those on the screen so we make this session as interactive as possible. I should also add that we welcome any questions you might have either during this event or after. You're welcome to approach both of us should you have some additional items to table. In any case, I think part of our message to you guys listening is that the process that we have gone through, which arguably has been somewhat both lengthy and frustrating. The function that Henriette represents, I think, produced the first draft of requirements leading to the conversation we are in today, to understanding what actually technology solution we need to cater for and what business requirements we eventually have to fulfill. Now, the Maersk being an old company, we have basically accumulated over very many years a number of applications, becoming a bit of a weight to us in terms of us moving forward on the digital agenda. And so the fact that we have fairly robust legacy out there made this journey a little bit more difficult, but also equally, I think, entertaining for the ones that have been involved. In terms of the timeline, I think one of the key observations we had was that we've tried to table the fact that we need a different technology solution compared to the Excel-based execution with our leadership team. And so the ERM as an initiative has gone through multiple rounds of reviews. Unfortunately, the funding back then wasn't prioritized, and so Henriette was left with still largely office-based type of solution, again creating some frustration in terms of the speed that they could be going with as far as the risk management is concerned. Then I think the interesting point is that we've actually suffered from what I would qualify as a luxury problem with all the applications surrounding GRC area. And so we, being mindful of the time it takes to deliver a solution and the fact that the business function was already waiting to be served for quite some time, we've made some choices which we, at that point of time, thought were the right ones in terms of making use of the existing capabilities. And we've tried to basically onboard ERM business onto the existing GRC platform. Unfortunately, that attempt has failed. The reason being that the underlying configuration we already had turned out to be quite cumbersome to reverse and adjust to accommodate for the requirements that the ERM business was coming with. So what followed that experience, we basically needed to revisit the technology options that we had in front of us. And since Maersk is heavily investing in SAP, we basically embarked on analyzing what our solution options are in this respect, and eventually us landing a conclusion that it is SAP that we will use our solution option cater for a risk management largely understood. And here, I think we've started off the journey with onboarding the enterprise risk management team onto SAP risk management. However, we still have quite some journey in front of us in terms of onboarding the other risk functions participating in the risk management discipline. So in terms of the actual deployment, I think the good news to those of you considering deploying SAP risk management is that the actual delivery wasn't time consuming at all. I think that where a lot of time investment was spent on was all the preceding conversations and debates and review sessions, but the actual work, I think, can be condensed to something that is resembling actually those approximately 3 months of work. followed by obviously some hypercare period right after. So as far as key observations are concerned, I think looking at the benefits of SAP base-off solution being delivered, I think Henriette and the team are now enjoying the fact that there is a single repository of all the risks. So risk register, when we look at SAP, is basically the single version of the truth. I think that's the theme that is very much attractive for anyone that works in finance. So there isn't any debate as to the alternative versions of it. Then when it comes to keeping a log of changes which are being made over time, SAP is very good at logging all the activities. So we have the history, the track record of what we've done, who has done it. Are there any follow-ups pertaining to the actions set against risks? And so if and when we get audited, we can demonstrate that as far as the log of the activities is concerned, we have our ducks lined up in the row, so to speak. Same goes for actually the risk description and all the associated risk attributes. These are now captured in a unified fashion, and we follow a standard way of capturing risks across the board. Something that might be seen as a relatively simplistic feature is the ability, obviously, to do a mass upload of the data, but equally exporting it if there is a need for it. That's the only, you could say, the remains of participating of Excel in the grand scheme of things, if you need to do any of the reports. But then again, risk management offers some business intelligence capabilities, which we will explore as part of this journey that we are on. When it comes to, I think, some good advices that we can offer is the fact that the deployment of SAP Risk Management as a product does not end there. I think we collectively, as a business and technology functions working together, have understood that starting off with a single risk register is just the beginning of the journey, and what will follow is a series of adjustments being made, essentially fine-tuning the execution, which we'll speak about in a minute when it comes to the future roadmap. Communication is key, and that's more tying up to the change management aspect. This is effectively a change in the way people do their jobs and the system that they work with. So there is an educational aspect, obviously, of having risk managers being familiarized with it, but equally the audience that Henriette is working with, conducting interviews and then collecting feedback on the actions, or exploring potential risks identification. We basically need to do some change management and make sure that we communicate this fairly early on. So when the time comes to deploy, then the organization in its totality is basically ready to pitch and ready to contribute. And something that is mentioned as a last bullet point there, but it's arguably equally, if not even more important than the rest. And that is the fact that we decided to adopt a SAP standard solution and the best practices that come with it. I can't stress enough how important this is, considering Maersk history in deploying SAP in-house, where we had, unfortunately, a bad reputation and history of almost bastardizing the SAP to the point of no recognition anymore, which effectively cost the company a lot of money to reverse. So with that major expensive lesson learned, the decision was made to then make use of the SAP standard solution, just like other customers use. We don't want to be different, and looking at it from the TCO perspective, the total cost of ownership, we obviously want to make sure that our cost is reduced to the extent possible, as opposed to delivering a severely customized technology option. So roadmap, a couple of points. I think automation is key, a component of our digital agenda. I think what we very quickly realized is the fact that with all the risks out there, they will be facilitated by what is called here a key risk indicator. And these key risk indicators come from multiple suppliers across the company. And it becomes a bit of a hassle to inspect what those key risk indicators are at any given point of time. So we came up with a way of sorting that out by simply fetching the information from both internally and externally, tapping to those data sources that can basically fulfill this requirement in terms of key risks indicators being automatically updated based on the source information. The second item on the list speaks to expansion of our SAP GRC portfolio down to process control, which is where controls are captured, and we can exercise the other sort of chunk of control framework. And at some point, we will connect the dots with SAP Risk Management serving as our risk repository, whereas process control will serve as a basis for capturing controls. Then we've got the risk reporting, where not only out-of-the-box reports are coming handy, but we are also aiming at delivering and exploring SAP Analytics Cloud as a way of equipping relevant stakeholders with the necessary information they need to basically run the show. And that's part of the roadmap for probably early next year. Surveys and workflows, again, part of the standard feature of SAP Risk Management, where I think we are yet to fully capitalize on the capabilities that come with the product out of the box, and that will complement the item I spoke about in terms of creating some audit trail of who did what, when, and how, and we'll make use of the surveys and the workflows basically to improve the way we do process execution. And I think that's really what we had. So we hope that the information we shared with you found interesting and attractive, and again encourage you to reach out to both Henriette and myself should there be an appetite to have more information on the subject. Thank you.
Thanks, Jakob. Yeah, unfortunately, we have run out of time for now. Apologies again for the technical issues we had up front, but it's great that both Jakob and Henriette were still able to get through all of their content and walk you through all of that, because it's been really valuable. So hopefully you've learned a lot from listening to that. But we will have to close the session at this point. If you would like to discuss any of the content covered today, as Jakob said, yeah, in any further detail, then please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be happy to provide further information that might help guide your own journey. Thank you again, both Jakob and Henriette, for your contributions and insights to this really informative session. Also for the attendees for joining us. We hope you enjoy the rest of our Risky Business program of events over the next couple of days, but all the best for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.